Wonderful. So we have this story, Jesus turning water into wine, his first miracle. And we're thinking this term all around courage. How can we grow in courage? And this morning we want to look particularly at how can we grow in our courage to obey Jesus and to serve others. Obey Jesus and serve others. Now, presumably you've all, I guess, most people will have been to a wedding, but I wonder if you've ever been to a wedding where something went wrong. I wonder if you've ever been to a wedding where something went wrong. Our wedding, it was a great day, but quite a few things went wrong. The vicar was later than Vicky. He'd apparently stopped to have a shower on the M1 services just outside Woolley. Goodness knows why. He was only coming from York, but anyway, I don't know. But then we came to the sit-down, the wedding breakfast, the sit-down meal. And we'd ordered for dessert a choice of 5 desserts. And when we'd been to look, there was these lovely gâteaux and cakes and kind of sponge desserts. And so that's what we were looking forward to. It came to the actual day, and we went to the food came to be dished out. And there was about 3 or 4 pieces of gâteau. That's all there was. Now, Vicky was happy because as the bride, she went first, so I don't think she really cared. But she got what she wanted, which was great. And I remember Vicky's dad, not too pleased, understandably, going to the kitchen, going to the chef door, knocking on the door and saying, hang on, what's going on? And they said, just a minute, we'll bring out the puddings in a minute. So he went back to his seat. And then the chefs began to bring out and lay out on the buffet tables these different desserts. One was a huge vat of rice pudding. Then a big tray came out, and it was this kind of school dinner-ish bread and butter pudding, kind of slightly sloppy in the bottom of the tray. At this point, Vicky's dad went back to the kitchen, knocked on the door a little bit louder, and said to the chef, what's going on? We ordered a choice of 5 different puddings. Now, even if I give you the benefit of the doubt, there's only 2 there. And the chef, in all honesty, he turned around and said, well, you've got rice pudding, you've got rice pudding with jam, you've got rice pudding with sultanas, you've got bread and butter pudding with cream, or you've just got plain bread and butter pudding. Now, it's great because it gives us a story to tell. And it didn't ultimately matter, but something went wrong at the wedding. It felt, particularly to Vicky's parents, like a bit of a disaster at the time. The bonus is, all I need to do now, if Vicky's mum's kind of just, chatting a little bit too much, is show her a tin of ambrosia rice pudding. And she just stops. It's brilliant. Now, at this wedding that Jesus was at, there was a bit of a disaster. And we're going to look at that in a minute. But before we do that, because we were deprived of gâteau at our wedding, we're just going to make a little gâteau here. So is there anyone who's never made a cake before in their life? Is there anyone who's never made a cake before who'd like to come and make a cake? Or someone who's made a cake and it's not gone very well? Corrado, do you want to come up? Brilliant. Up you come. So what I need you to do, okay, is do whatever I tell you to do, okay, and we'll get a good cake made, okay? So do whatever I tell you to do. So first of all, there's your mug. That's what you're going to make your cake in. So if you want to hold that. And the first thing I want you to do, I've got some ingredients here. So if you can first of all pour those into the mug. Do you want to turn around so everyone can see? There we are. Pour those into your mug, okay, and give those a little bit of a mix up. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Do you want to stand? Maybe Vicky can come and help. Come and stand on the stage and face outward so everyone can see. Brilliant. So it's not so hard so far, is it, making a cake? It's quite easy. Okay. I'm going to give you, let me get this right, I'm going to give you some other ingredients here. So very carefully, could you crack that egg into the mixture, face that way, crack that egg into the mixture, and then give it a good mix till you get a nice, smooth batter. Try not to get any eggshell in, because it doesn't taste great. There we go. Wonderful. Brilliant. Now give that a really good mix up. Let me take those off you. Give those a really good mix. Yeah, you might have to help Vicky. Just give it a really good stir. There we go. Okay, are we there? Okay, keep going, keep going. Nice and smooth. And then the last thing I want you to do, come back. Do you want to add that in as well? Okay, add those in, those ingredients. Okay, now give them a really, really good mix-up. Vicky might need to help for speed. So what we should end up with is a really nice batter. Then what we're going to do, could you press that button there for me? Yep. Brilliant, that's going to open. Okay, and when we're ready, we're going to pop that in the microwave. Wonderful. So we're going to pop that in, right into the middle. Okay. Now, could you press that button 3 times? Thank you very much. Well done. Let's have that fork off you. Brilliant. So today, if Corrade, I'd have just got you up here and said, here's a microwave, here's some ingredients, make a cake. You might have had some idea, but you probably wouldn't have quite known how to put it together, and you wouldn't maybe have had a clue of how to do it. But because you listened to me, and because you did exactly as I told you to do, hopefully, in a few seconds' time, you'll be the proud baker of your first delicious chocolate gâteau cake. Say again?
Eat it.
Are you allowed to actually eat it? Yes, you are allowed to actually eat it. Wonderful. So we've just got a few seconds to go, but the key was that you did exactly as I told you to do. So, how are we doing? How long have we got left?
37.
37 seconds. Wonderful. So we're nearly there. Now, because Corrade listened to me and did what I told her to do, seemingly random ingredients, seemingly random things that by themselves wouldn't be that tasty. No one wants to eat a raw egg. No one wants to just drink some vegetable oil. But put together, following instructions, they should hopefully be turned into a delicious cake. We've got 10 seconds left. 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh my God.
Wonderful. Look at that. Gorgeous chocolate cake. That is going to be very hot. You can eat it. I'm just going to let that cool down. You go and take a seat for a moment. I'll pass that to Rachel, who's just going to make sure it doesn't get too cold, and then can pass it on. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now, in our story today, Jesus was at a wedding and the wine ran out. A complete disaster. And when Mary, Jesus' mother, noticed that it had run out, and this is interesting what she did, or perhaps didn't do, she didn't flap. She didn't run around asking everyone for assistance. She didn't send a load of people to Tesco's to go and buy some more wine. All she did is simply and quietly turn to Jesus and uttered a really simple statement. They have no more wine. And if we look around us, we can see lots of things where it feels like we don't have enough. We can even see things that in some cases feel like or actually are a disaster in our world. And we can either ignore it or we can get so busy trying to fix it and sort it. But what if, like Mary, we had the courage, first of all, to simply and quietly turn to Jesus and bring him our needs? My mum's ill. This person is running out of food. There's people hurt in the Ukraine. What if we simply brought our prayers to Jesus? And some of us will be doing that at Kingdom Come this Thursday night. But having done that, Mary then turns to the servants and she says quite bluntly, do whatever Jesus tells you to do. Do whatever Jesus tells you to do. What is Jesus telling you to do? Right now, as you're thinking about him in your week, as you're praying, as you're reading the Bible, what is it that Jesus is telling you to do? And I love the fact Jesus could have quite easily just turned the water into wine himself. He could have just done it, and he did. But what I love is that he involved the servants as well. He didn't just sort it by himself, but he said to the servants, do what I tell you to do, and you be part of the amazing miracle that I am going to do. You see, the reason Jesus tells us to do things is because he wants us to be involved in bringing his kingdom. It's not because he's kind of telling us like some bad schoolmaster or school teacher being really grumpy. He wants us to be involved because he wants us to learn to love him more and be a part of his amazing story. And so as Jesus tells the servants to fill up the jars with water, and then as Jesus tells them to take some and take it out and give it to the master of the banquet to taste, I wonder, how do you think the servants felt? Jesus fills some jars with water. He says to the servants, take some of that water out with a cup and go and give it to the master of the banquet, and honestly, it will be wine. How do you think the servant might have felt in going and giving that glass of water to the master of the banquet? How do you think he might have felt? Any ideas? Hesitant, scared, worried. Exactly. But they did it every way. They had the courage to listen to Jesus and do as he asked. There was a real risk going with a glass of water to the person who's expecting wine. What if it hadn't turned into wine? What if they looked stupid? What if they got the sack? But they had the courage to do it. And to everyone's amazement, the water turned into wine. Jesus turned disaster into something better than they could ever imagine. But the servants needed to obey Jesus before that happened. The servants discovered that when you do what Jesus tells you to do, things change. And we catch a glimpse of what he wants to do in our world. So you might look at what you can do. You might think about what you're good at. You might think about what you have. And you might go, well, that's not a lot, really. It's not really going to make a difference to people who are hungry. It's not really going to make a difference to those who are struggling in the Ukraine. I haven't really got a lot to give. It's just like water compared to wine. But Jesus takes the ordinary in our hands and he can turn it into a sign of his kingdom. So if Jesus can turn water into wine, imagine what he can do with you. Imagine what he can do with your gifts and your talents and your resources. And so this morning, we just want to ask everyone, whether you're really young or really old or in between, where is Jesus calling you to obey and to serve others? Where is there an apparent lack where Jesus might be giving you something to do, even if it seems ridiculous or insignificant? And so on your seats this morning, we've given you all a little sheet that says, play your unique part. Now for the children, there's some here. So if you're in older kids or younger youth, then come and see Vicky and she'll make sure you get one of these. And if you're under 5, come and see Rachel and she'll make sure you get one of those. Don't start filling it in yet, because we're going to pray first. We're going to pray first. So this morning, we just wanted to, as a church, ask that question. Have we got the courage to obey and to serve? Where might God be calling you to use the little bit you have to turn it into something brilliant? We've got a vision here to play our part in seeing lives and communities transformed. And the Bible tells us we do that together as a family. It can't rely on every single person. The only way it can work is every single person bringing their little bit and God somehow using that.